Hi everybody, this is Lena from the Silent Wave blog, and I'm welcoming y'all back for a third video. And first I want to just start out by thanking everybody for subscribing thus far, for giving me the thumbs up on the videos that y'all have liked, and for leaving me comments. And I'm really enjoying interacting with all y'all, and I'm having a lot of fun with this YouTube thing. So anyway, what I thought I'd do today is talk a little bit about describing how I experience Asperger's, autism, that sort of thing. It is a little bit tough to describe because it cannot necessarily be separated from who I am. Basically, it's my operating system, if you will. And so it's hard to talk about necessarily what it's like to be on the spectrum because I don't know what it feels like to be off the spectrum. So I'm going to do my best though, and what I'm going to do, just like I said, is just describe a little bit about some of the traits that I experience in as far as being an Asperger autistic person, and just kind of talking a bit about that and what it means to me. And I'm going to be real general. I'm not going to get real technical with any of like the diagnostic criteria or anything like that right now. I'm just going to sort of talk from a very subjective standpoint with some of the major themes in my life. So anyway, one of the first ones is that my brain is always active. It's always cataloging things. It's always organizing, drawing connections between just different things that I experience and different things that I see in the world. For example, somebody could pick a word, any word, pick the word arm, for example. My brain is going to make a whole bunch of connections, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not sure if everyone else's does this too, but I know that mine does, and I've gotten the sense that this is not exactly usual, but my brain will go into sort of this overdrive. So when I just envision the word arm, as in somebody's arm, I'm going to think of, because one of my interests is anatomy and neurology and just the human body, I'm going to think of the blood supply to the arm, the names of the arteries and veins. I'm going to think of the nerves that supply the different parts of the arm, the different muscles, the different bones involved. I'm going to think of the different skin layers, and all these things are going to be flashing through my mind visibly. Almost like a picture. Like if you've ever seen the show House MD, basically how they kind of at the end of the show, when they solve the problem, they zoom in to like a computer animation of the inside of the body, and they start sort of illustrating what's going on inside, so that in a way that you can really see it. That's kind of what my brain is doing all the time. And I make different associations, so I may think of different, since I'm interested in lots of different aspects of like health and healing also, then I'm going to think of the different like Chinese acupuncture meridians that run through the arm and the different elements that might influence that, and my brain might go to that sort of section of a big flow chart. So it's almost like a big thought cloud in a way. That's kind of how I describe it. I guess I scored really high on that systemizing quotient test. I think I scored like a 193, and the average score for someone who's not on the spectrum is somewhere in the 70s and 80s, kind of a range. Another aspect of my Asperger's autism is that I think in terms of vivid images, kind of like what Temple Grandin describes when she talks about her brain being like Google Images. That's kind of, in a way, I can definitely relate to that. Sometimes these images are computerized or digital art version, complete with animation. I also have a wild imagination. Another kind of a third trait that I'd like to kind of talk about my experience in is kind of an ability to reconcile different concepts that might appear to be contradictory, such as logic versus intuition, scientific evidence versus acting on a hunch, that sort of thing. Emotions and logic, yeah, and that's one of the main things that it seems contradictory, like, okay, either you have evidence for something or you don't, but I sort of act on kind of like a dual, almost like I have both apps running at one time, my logic app and my intuition app at the same time. Another thing that I experience is sort of there's a constant sensing of the world around me, using kind of, speaking of intuition, I sense the world around me and I sort of get intuitive vibes, if you will, beyond that which might be obvious. I sense things about things, and I sense things about people, especially, or animals, in much the same way. And I think maybe that's why some of the animals tend to like me and feel comfortable around me, is because I'm sort of getting them on a different level. And kind of along the same vein, another theme that has kind of become prominent in my life is that I've learned over the years to sort of mark in my mind people as either safe or potentially threatening, depending on the vibes that I get from them. It's either a case of, okay, good, you get it, and I feel safe with you, or I feel comfortable with you, or nope, you don't quite get it, I'm going to politely pass you by and maybe not strike up so much contact, like an avenue of contact with you. Sometimes I withhold my verdict and carefully test the waters and reserve judgment in terms of, well, I'm not sure yet, so I'm going to withdraw. I'm just sort of going to withhold making any kind of judgment, and I'm going to sort of test the waters, give you a couple of chances, see where this goes, that sort of thing. And I approach relationships very cautiously. And I do try and give people, the benefit of the doubt, the chance to form a relationship. But sometimes that can be a little tough because sometimes my antennae kind of go up, and I may sometimes see different, perceive different threat, like minor threats that aren't there or something like that. But most of the time it's pretty much right on. My life is also full of thoughts and emotions for which there are no English words. That's kind of another theme in my mind, in my life, that has presented probably one of the bigger obstacles, is because when it comes to communication, I can really only communicate about 5 to 10% of what I'm actually thinking and feeling and experiencing, because sometimes there simply are no words in my native language for that, at least not that I know of, to be able to communicate efficiently. And so sometimes I get lucky and I discover that an accurate word or phrase can be found in another language, which is really cool. And sometimes it can't, at which point I'll do my best to describe and communicate, but sometimes I can't even quite do that. So it's more like, let me play for you this song or something, and just take the whole song in, the beat and the instrumentation and the lyrics and the voice and just the overall the whole package, and that kind of reflects my disposition right now, or what I'm thinking right now, or how my brain works, or something like that. So sometimes I have to communicate in different ways other than language. And this goes beyond stuff like facial expressions and body language too. It can be something like music or an art piece or something like that I can point to and say, hey, yeah, that's basically, that best describes that which is going on in my mind right now, that words simply can't quite touch. And so those can be helpful tools for me. The other times there's nothing I can point to, and there's nothing I can grasp at to be able to communicate very well. So it's just more of a sense of, well, I guess at that point I just don't say it. I hold it in because that's all there is to do. I can't get it out. And so another theme that's been prominent in my life is that my interests are many, and they're actually quite varied, and they're my greatest source of stress relief. I love learning new things, formulating problem-solving game plans, stockpiling new information, creating art forms, whether it's writing, music, visual arts, something like that. I love researching a topic and digging up info nuggets. I do this best during these long periods of hyper-focus where I'll even forget to eat, or I don't realize I'm getting hungry or tired or anything. I just stay in the zone, and it can be for several hours at a time. I've spent 8 hours, for example, researching the metabolism of the amino acid lysine. It can go like that. I just get really engrossed. It's almost like the opposite of ADHD. It's like hyper focus, and so it's fun. The only hiccup potentially in that is that any interruption in that leads to kind of like a severe and instant irritation that I can't do too much about, and it's almost always driven by an unseen anxiety, and I've just only recently pinpointed that anxiety comes from the fact that, oh my gosh, I have all these mental pieces that I was holding very fragilely in my mind, and all of a sudden they have been blown apart by this interruption that was nobody's fault. Nobody meant to, do it, scatter my mental pieces all over the place. But as soon as they leave, I now have to try and get very slowly back down into what I was doing and where I was before, and it's almost like I lost my place and I have to go recover it, and it takes me a lot of time to recover that place. And so there's an anxiety that comes with that, and that's, I think, what drives the irritation at it. It's like, okay, how am I gonna get my place back and everything? And so it's kind of like, and then it goes to, dang it, why did they, why did that have to happen? So it's nothing personal, it just happens. And I've had to kind of pick that apart and realize that. And like I said before, my interests are diverse, and I'll list off a couple. Music, we've talked about, the human body, biology, physiology, neurology, economics, computers, martial arts, ancient Egypt, world religions. I love reading. You know, these interests are not narrow, and I say this because some people are under the idea that Asperger/autistic people have these narrow interests, and it even says, it even references that in the diagnostic criteria, and that's actually not true for all of us, and I'm definitely one of those that it's not a narrow thing. There's a big variety there. I'm just curious about like the whole world, and I want to learn so much about a lot of the world to varying degrees, of course, but you know, it's the interest is definitely there. And so, and I guess the last point I'd like to make is that is sort of another theme. Now, the last theme in my life that has sort of emerged is that I feel connected with the universe itself on like a big grand scale level, with the energy and in the physical matter and the like down to the molecular atomic levels. But the thing is that I don't necessarily feel as connected with the ocean that is the most humans. I mean, I do form very deep connections with a lot of different humans, and I love all of the humans that I'm in contact with. It's just that, you know, when it comes to like humanity as a whole, I feel a certain connection, but it's a different type of one. It's not the connection people would think of. It's basically more of there's a universal concern for humanity. There's a vision of like a desire to end all suffering and stuff like that, but it's not necessarily like the personal connection that people think of. It's just not the same, and here are where my words fail me. I can't exactly describe it, but I think some of y'all will know what I'm talking about. And so I'm human myself, as are we all. It's just been sort of a struggle to carve out my place in humanity and convince myself and some of the other people that I have known that it's legitimate, and so am I. And so if you, so I figured I'd kind of, like I said in this video, I figured I'd cover a couple more basics, you know, about, you know, I've described a little bit about my diagnosis and about kind of what to expect for the channel, and so I thought, like I said, that this third video should really focus more on a little bit about different things that I experienced that I'd just sort of like to share with y'all. So hopefully I've done that. Hopefully y'all have enjoyed it. If you have enjoyed this, please click the thumbs up icon below the video, leave me a comment. I want to make a footnote here. I do respond to every comment that I see as soon as I see it. It's just that sometimes that's immediately because I'm still logged on, or I'm really great about checking in because I don't have much going on during that particular day, but sometimes it can take a few days for me to respond, and I apologize for the delays in responding, but I do respond. As soon as I see the comments, I can't get to the keyword fast enough and start typing a reply. So, and I really appreciate all the comments that y'all have left me too. And please feel free to subscribe to this channel if you like it, which you see so far, and if you haven't subscribed already. And if you like it enough, click on the bell icon next to the subscribe button if you'd like to receive notifications whenever I've posted something new, which is currently averaging about every 2 weeks right now. Every 2 weeks I upload a new video, although that may change over time. It may become more frequent, although I promise not to bombard y'all. Alrighty. I think that's pretty much it for today, and I hope to be back in another couple of weeks. All y'all have a very Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy everything, and I'll just be inclusive here. And take care, and thanks for watching. All right, bye-bye.